Hi, welcome to the League-Kempner house. The last 10 days have been crazy. I think I mentioned before that in addition to this house, I also own the Lucas Apartments, also on Broadway, just 2 blocks away. Major work is going on at both houses at once, and it's been a nightmare keeping up with multiple crews working 2 locations. I did a lot of walking. Hi, I've had to move offices. This is my new setup. It's a little noisy, but it's way cleaner because a lot of stuff's about to go on in the kitchen. I know you'll be shocked to find out that after a little exploration, it was determined that the lintels above the kitchen window are rotted and need to be replaced. So it was off to the metal fabricator to order some 10-foot steel lintels for this window. I was excited to learn when I got there that my last order would be ready for pickup the next day, so the masons would have something to work on. During my office move, I had to reroute the fiber optic cable, and I accidentally made quite a mess that took a long time to straighten out. I got a random call from my sheet metal fabricator to ask if I had found the roof gables. I was a little confused because they had picked them up so that the shop could look at them and give me an estimate on repair cost, and I never heard back from them. Instead, they just fixed them and dropped it back off. As for the cost, I'm afraid to call and find out, but they do look nice, and these guys have been very reasonable in the past, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It's plumbing day again. We finally figured out how deep the tap is, and Robert's calculating the depth of the trench. Now we have to work on our permitting so we can actually connect. I had 2 big projects to complete this week. One of my tenants was moving out of the Lucas Apartments, and I needed to get that unit ready to rent ASAP. And I also sold this house next door at the end of last year to help fund the restoration work at the League house. And the new owner was kind enough to let me leave all my junk underneath until the weather turned nice to get it out and clean out the bottom of the house. So Ronaldo and I spent the morning with her, dragging out trash and moving the things I wanted to keep next door to the Lucas Apartments. Unfortunately, I kept way more than I threw away, and there was no place to put it, so we just piled it in the courtyard, which was already trashed out from the work going on. Okay, we're having a hailstorm. You're in for a treat. Going to the dump. I'm gonna go up and get weighed, turn in our paperwork, and then unload. So fortunately it's not very crowded. I'm the first one in line. There's a couple of big trucks, but they unload in a different bay. And they've got rules here, so it's hard hat, best time.
Stinky today.
It was particularly stinky at the dump this day, but it's nice that the transit station is covered, so when the weather's bad, like this weird hailstorm, you can at least unload and not be drenched. I always like to roll my windows down so I don't lock the keys in the truck. This is not where you want to get stuck. I don't have a lot to unload. The worst part of this is that last week I had that whole 3G phone fiasco, and I had just gotten my brand new phone about 3 days before this point, and I put it in my vest pocket, which I thought at the time was too small for my big giant phone. And it turns out I was right, because during the unloading, somehow my phone fell out of my pocket, and it took me about 3 times as long to find the phone in the trash as it did to unload the trash. The thing that kills me about coming here is that they don't allow you to pick up anything, and I always see something that I want, like this fireplace screen. That was easy. Now we have to go back around and get weighed again. And that was such a light load, I won't pay anything. I get 1 free dump a month with my water bill from the city. I really can't believe how lucky I was. Sometimes you can sit in line for an hour, hour and a half, and in the summer it's brutal. That was just great. When I got back from the dump, Ronaldo asked me if I had seen the fire. I don't know how I missed it. It's just 2 blocks down on the corner of 12th and Broadway. I don't know how it started, but you can see it was massive. This would be my worst nightmare. I had to laugh because I had my first celebrity spotting. Someone walked up to me while I was watching the fire and said, "Hey, I know you. You're that lady in the YouTube videos." We had a nice chat and I made some new friends. By the time I got back to the League house, the trench was quite a bit deeper. Fortunately, the soil down here is really sandy and easy to dig, but the downside of that is that the trench has a tendency to collapse. Today, the guys are digging about 150 feet of trench on the outside. Tomorrow, they start on the inside. The next day, I got here before anybody else arrived, so I walked around the yard to check things out and found another visitor. While waiting on the plumbing permit, I shifted everybody to do something on the inside. I was scrambling to find enough to keep everybody busy. Okay, we've almost had a disaster. Okay, don't push it yet. My 1893 toilet was over here, and I was on the other side and reached up and put my hand on this wall and watch what happens to it. Oh God, Robert. That's going to come down on top of your head. Push it the other way. Give it a karate kick. Jump up there and give it a chop. Here, let's just kick it. All right. Thank God that didn't land on my toilet. Or your head. Or me. All right, the laundry room just got bigger. Oh. That's not good. This is a servant's stair directly above a really bad corner in the basement. So we're doing some exploratory demolition. Let's see how bad this wall is. Because underneath in the basement there's nothing. We got our first big rain since we got the pipe underground instead of just temporarily laid. And it looks like it worked great. That's a lot of water. Let's go check and see if we're dry. Ooh. Yeah, we're dry. A little puddling over by the door. But otherwise, looks good. It's starting to be a little scary down here. There are a lot of things to fall in. We've got a big trench here. Starting the trench over here. Going down through what will be the bathroom and then out to the outside of it. The steel fabricator called and had 2 more prototypes of the curved lintels ready for us to fit, so I went back and picked those up. I don't even remember if this is attempt number 3 or 4. There was a miscommunication about what was going to be ready when I actually ended up making 5 trips to the fabricator this week. The mason needed something to do since the lintels I thought were going to be ready were not, so I redeployed them back to the Lucas apartments to continue pressure washing the building and doing some masonry repair there. Things were very hectic and I had to stay so late I ended up spending a couple of nights down in Galveston. I finally went home and was greeted by this. We're getting ready to host an engagement party for my daughter in about a week and a half. And of course, the upstairs toilet valve spontaneously failed sometime during the day. Fortunately, it's on the outside wall and most of the water ran down the wall and into the garage instead of into the house. And my husband just loves to do plumbing, so he was in a great mood. The next day, the weather was beautiful and the house was dry enough to start painting, only we didn't have enough paint. So I had to go to Home Depot and get 12 gallons of paint mixed up because the paint I'm using doesn't come in 5-gallon buckets, so it took a while. And this is why I absolutely love my guys. I told them to take a break while I was gone, and instead they had seen me working to organize the carriage house so I could store all that stuff I drug over when I cleaned out the house next door. By the time I got back, they had sorted and rearranged everything and even swept. Painting got underway on the outside, and I started painting in the apartment. One of my girlfriends came to help me clean, so that helped a lot. The kinks finally got worked out on the plumbing permit, and the plumber was able to show up the next day and start putting an outside sewer line. I was incredibly excited when I drove up. I'm not going to show you my face because I look even worse than I usually do. I'm trying to do a make-ready on an apartment that the tenant left in great shape, but they had cats, and I'm violently allergic to cats, so I have a sinus infection and feel horrible, but I have to be here because the plumbing was supposed to go in today, but you can see all the activity going on because a couple of critical components got left off the order, and my contractor called it in and he went to pick it up, but now they can't find the order or the invoice for me to pay. So it's almost noon and we're still sitting here. So, and it's only Thursday, so one more day to go. Then I got a wonderful surprise. A dear friend from high school stopped by with her husband and some of her grandchildren for a tour of the house, and that's always fun. Okay, here we are. Pretty tight working quarters, but we have a pipe. And it goes all the way to the house. It's Friday and it's not starting out well. The first thing I did was get the ladder and go look in this standpipe to see if there's water. We're doing a hydrostatic test of the line. And you can see the water's dropped about 3.5 feet, which either means there's a leak in the pipe somewhere or the test ball that blocks the line to hold water is not seated well at the end. But either way, we're not going to pass inspection today, which means none of this can be covered up. There's a lot going on today. McNatt Construction is here to replace this door. It was an interior door we put on as a stopgap and it's rotting through. So now we're getting a custom door. Oops. A custom door, and they're going to fix this weird short issue. My brand new gorgeous door is here for the back. The guys are moving scaffolding to start painting this section of the house and pressure washing over there, and Ricardo is installing my gable vent that I bought 7 years ago. It's finally getting to go in. By Friday, I was so far behind from being sick and working slow and just being generally disorganized that my husband took pity on me and came to Galveston. He's extremely talented and can do anything, but we have a pact. This is my pet project, and I only ask him to work on it if I really, really need him to, because he has lots of other work to get done in Houston. He was thrilled that someone else was putting in this door. He hung the temporary door, and I think he carried up and down those stairs about 6 or 7 times trying to get it cut to fit the opening properly, because the opening is not square. The end result is beautiful. And Friday just gets better. I cleaned and flushed this toilet and heard water gushing. That's not supposed to happen. No, okay, and I don't want you to divorce me just yet because I cleaned the toilet in the back bathroom down there, the brown one, and when I flushed it...
What are we talking about?
The apartment downstairs.
Okay.
When I flushed it, water came gushing out between the tank and the bowl all over the floor.
Oh, at Megan's?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you either have a cracked tank or a bad seal.
Yeah, but it wasn't doing that yesterday.
Somebody bumped it or somebody moved it, or the seal just dried out.
Okay. I mentioned before how much my husband loves plumbing. To smooth things over, I went and got his favorite meal for lunch, which was a good thing because a faucet broke and I already had a shower problem on his honey-do list for the day. It's hard to... By the end of the day, the apartment was ready for the realtor to show, which was critical. I can't spend money if I don't have money coming in. Since it's vacant and clean, I'll give you a quick peek. I love this space. It's a great little apartment. It's a 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, and it's maybe 1,000 square feet, so it should rent pretty fast. It was a very long day, and we didn't get out until about 7. We stopped and checked at the League house, and sure enough, the inspector had been by, and we were red tagged. At this point, I was tired and didn't care, so that's a problem for another week. I'll do another video on what has turned out to be a 14-month sewer line odyssey, but for now, this gives you some idea of how crazy it can get around here. And even though I felt like I was spinning my wheels for those last 10 days, as I sit back and reflect on everything, there was actually quite a bit done. And hey, any forward progress is a good thing. Some weeks are busier than others, but there's always more to do here at the League-Kempner house. So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss a single video. In our next installment, the mystery about what the garage looked like before it caved in is finally solved. The League-Kempner house is owned by a nonprofit dedicated to restoring it to its original beauty. Check out our website, leaguekempnerhouse.org, where you can donate, volunteer your time, or stay updated on special events and tours. Thanks for watching us on YouTube, and check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. See you next time here on sunny Galveston Island.